While fracking has long been used in California to stimulate oil production, this new generation of fracking, which drills deeper and longer, requires enormous amounts of water, uses known toxic and carcinogenic chemicals, and creates much more toxic wastewater, and increases the disposal problems, is largely an uncontrolled public health experiment.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here for the ribbon cutting ceremony of the workover rig right behind you. Right behind us. Joking, of course. So, to me, this is, when I was driving around here earlier today with Chris Payne, director of Who Killed the Electric Car, in one of his several electric cars, it struck me that every time I've come to LA, I've come through this gas and oil field, and it struck me as a relic. It struck me as like the little Brea tar pits or something from ancient history that has been here for 100 years. And to learn now that this is being worked over again, and the possibility of fracking these hills, to me it seems like we're going in completely the wrong direction. These are dinosaurs, both literally and figuratively, right? Fossil fuels. And we're in a moment where every trend in the world is to move away from fossil fuels, to move towards renewable energy, to move towards solar power and wind power, and hydropower and geothermal, and to be taking steps backwards in the heart of Los Angeles. I wish I could say that this was unfamiliar and strange to me as an emissary from New York, from Pennsylvania, where the proposal initially was to frack in the New York City watershed, to frack in the upper Delaware River Basin, throughout 3/4 of Pennsylvania, half of New York, half of Ohio, all of West Virginia, and as you know, throughout 34 states. There's just a couple of things. So when you think of this as complete insanity, it is, but that doesn't make it not the norm, and it doesn't make it something that you can sit back and think that other people are going to handle. You have to handle this yourself, and you have to start to grow something here. A movement against this. There's a couple things that I want to point out to me that strike me as really severe threats and really almost absurd and surreal. We're here over what I believe is the Englewood fault line.
Newport Englewood.
Newport Englewood fault.
Right?
Right.
Now, earlier this year, I toured Central Arkansas with Nightline, and you can look it up at the Nightline website, to a town, a series of towns that had suffered 1,000 earthquakes due to the injection wells and to the fracking that was happening in Central Arkansas. 1,000 earthquakes in a year. And they ranged from the very, very small to a 4.7, which cracked the walls of the school. And they showed that those earthquakes were, in fact, a result of the injection well process, and that you were stressing and pressure pulsing the formation and increasing cracks and faults. That's what fracking is. It's fracturing the underground strata. The very first fracked well in England caused seismic activity, and they shut it down immediately. You have reports from the USGS and from, I believe, EPA that show that injection wells and fracking contribute to seismic activity. On New Year's Day, or I think it was New Year's Eve, in Youngstown, Ohio, the fracking and the injection wells there were causing earthquakes. This is insane, to be thinking of fracking wells in the middle of Los Angeles. In a way, I can't think of a better PR strategy for the anti-fracking movement to start fracking in the fault lines in Los Angeles. But this is an absurdity of the kind that is all too normal and too regular in back east, where you feel like the audacity, the bullying, the level of impunity that these companies operate under can be rather astounding. But I think you'll find the reason why is because you've got 100 years of pushing people around, all around the world. Which brings me to the second thing that I want to talk about, the Monterey Shale. which encompasses a huge area throughout California. They're talking about fracking for crude oil all throughout Central California. This is an issue, and I'm sure this is not the last press conference that I'll do in California, that is coming to California and to Los Angeles in a major way. And I think that it's extremely important. I'm here on a fact-finding mission. I'm here to film a bit for Gasland 2 to find out what's going on here. So I'm trying to speak as clearly as I can to the specific situation here, but the best thing you can do is arm yourself with the facts. Fracking causes water contamination. It causes massive air pollution. If you were to burn all of the possible frack gas that's out there, you would be in a disastrous situation in terms of climate change. Bill McKibben, who I'm speaking with later tonight at UCLA, has been quoted in the New York Review of Books saying 650 parts per million CO2 in the atmosphere if they just burn all the shale gas. That says nothing of the leaking, nothing of the water contamination, nothing of the other health-related issues on the ground. We cannot move towards exploration of more fossil fuels from every single possible standpoint, from community environmental justice issues, people being poisoned in their own communities, to global issues of climate change. It's just the wrong way to go.
Dangerous.
Thank you.
Let me just talk really quickly about the 3 reasons that we think the governor needs to step in and ban fracking right now in the state of California. The first is we have very little and weak oversight at the state. The Division of Oil and Gas, which is the group that regulates fracking, does not have a complete understanding of what's happening in the state. They don't know where all the fracking's happening, they don't know the chemicals that are used in fracking, and they don't know the results. It's very, very dumb for a state to move forward and to allow an industrial activity like that to happen if they don't have all the information that they need. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2, fracking is just keeping us addicted to fossil fuels. It's already been said before, we need to be moving away from fossil fuels. Fracking is just a way to keep us more addicted to natural gas. Number 3, solar. As you can see today, California is blessed with some of the best sunshine in the world. We need to be moving further and faster to increase the amount of solar and clean energy sources that we use here in California. You know what they call it when it's there's a big solar accident? A beautiful day. This is exactly what we have. This is what we need more of, not dangerous and dirty petroleum actions.
Thank you. I just want to give you a little history of the Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. We were formed in 2008 to protect the environmental health and safety of Los Angeles County residents. We were one of 4 plaintiffs that challenged the Los Angeles County Environmental Impact Report for the Baldwin Hills Community Standards District in Superior Court. We held numerous community screenings of the documentaries Split Estate and Gasland, along with educational meetings on the environmental hazards associated with urban oil and gas production in the Inglewood field. We worked with other community groups in facilitating informed participation by area residents in Planning Commission hearings and Los Angeles County Supervisor meetings when considering the Baldwin Hills EIR CSD. In having discovered documents in 2008 that hydraulic fracking had been used by PXP at the Inglewood field, we felt addressing its continued use was a priority to assuring public health and safety. In California, hydraulic fracturing has gone on as an unregulated oil and gas well stimulation technique. Our regulatory agencies in California have not only been driving blind at their oversight responsibilities here, they have been canoodling in the back seat with the oil and gas industry. The oil and gas industry says that hydraulic fracturing is safe, that they have been fracking for decades without contaminating freshwater aquifers. This is a lie. If this were true, it would not have been necessary to have ex-Halliburton CEO Dick Cheney's 2005 Energy Policy Act include EPA exemptions to the Safe Water Drinking Act and the Clean Water Act for hydraulic fracturing. If only the industry believed their own spin.
Yeah.
In fact, Hydraulic fracturing has been proven to contaminate freshwater wells and aquifers by the Environmental Protection Agency. Hydraulic fracturing is a dangerous and destructive process on all counts. Its need for massive amounts of the limited resource of water, its use of chemicals that are known carcinogens and endocrine system disruptors, its potential to initiate seismic events in fault zones or ground movement, its contamination of ground and surface waters, and the risk of human exposure to a cocktail of airborne toxic chemicals. The California regulatory agency, DOGGR, has ignored regulations specific to well injection that should apply to hydraulic fracturing, which is a well injection process. The California Code of Regulations, section 172410, specifically states that injection pressure should not exceed the oil or gas-bearing formation fracture pressure, and yet hydraulic fracturing purposely exceeds that fracture pressure level to accomplish what this regulation is meant to prevent. The purpose of this regulation is to prevent the potential for earthquakes, fractures, and surface cracking. DOGGR is facilitating the oil and gas industry by not applying this regulation correctly. The catastrophic 1963 Baldwin Hills Dam collapse that led to the loss of 5 lives, destroyed 277 homes, and resulted in $12 million in property damage was the direct result of ground movement caused by oil field injection operations. DOGGR also continues to use discredited science to make oil and gas production policy on the protections of public health and safety with regard to oil field gas migration of the type that caused the Fairfax District Ross Stress Furnace explosion in 1985 that injured 23 people and left curbsides burning. They believe it was caused by swamp gas. The previous state oil and gas supervisor, Elena Miller, was fired for recognizing and attempting to address the industry practice of hydraulic fracturing after requesting and getting additional funding from the California legislature for this purpose. Knowing these things, can we trust the backroom judgments of politicians, regulators, and deep-pocketed oil and gas industry representatives in determining acceptable risks for California and Californians? In addressing hydraulic fracturing, first and foremost, science and a precautionary principle of do no harm need to be applied, with the industry bearing the burden of proof. Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community supports the Ban Fracking in California campaign. It's only common sense. Anything else is risk no one should be willing to accept. Let's follow the examples of the state of Vermont and the countries of France, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, and Germany. Let's make California frack free.
When we speak of hydraulic fracking, we're not just talking about shale fracking in the USA, we're talking about fracking right here underneath our feet. Despite what the operator says, we're experiencing a multitude of issues in the ramped up production. The community is experiencing an out of the ordinary amount of damage, such as displaced streets, water main and fire hydrant breaks, our schools and playgrounds with sinkholes and cracked foundations, along with our spirits broken throughout the neighborhood. It's not only the water contamination and toxins we all should be aware and afraid of, but the idea that the oil operator, PXP, wants to frack in our fault zone, which has the potential to generate a 7.4 earthquake, which is over 11 times stronger than the historic and deadly Northridge earthquake. It's beyond our and the USGS's comprehension that they state, and I quote, "As for lubricating faults with water or some other substance, injecting high pressure fluids deep into the ground is known to trigger earthquakes and occur sooner than they would without. However, this would be a dangerous pursuit in any populated area, as one might trigger a damaging earthquake." I mean, where else here than in where we're located could they be talking even more? We all know that we're far overdue, and to allow them to poke explosive sticks into our Newport Inglewood fault zone just doesn't make any sense. They're all putting our lives and our futures at risk. Join us. Ban fracking now.